Lena woke before sunrise, as she had every morning since Merrick left. The pale light spilled into her small apartment, and she sat at the edge of her bed, heart tight with a sadness she could not shake. Marek had been her closest friend since childhood. They had grown up in the same neighborhood, shared the same dreams, and laughed under the orange glow of street lamps long after the shops had closed. But 6 months ago, he had moved across the sea to start a new life on another world, and nothing felt the same without him. She moved quietly so as not to wake her cat, Nova, who purred and stretched at her feet. In the kitchen, Lena poured coffee into her favorite mug, a chipped blue one that Marek had given her on her last birthday together. The steam rose in soft curls, and for a moment she let its warmth soothe her. But as she sipped, she remembered how things had ended between them, rushed goodbyes at the shuttle port, promises to write, to call, to visit. Yet only a handful of messages had come, each one shorter and rarer than the last. At work, Lena sat at her desk beneath fluorescent lights, staring at a blinking cursor on the holoscreen. Her job as a data analyst for the city's habitat project kept her busy, but every few minutes she found herself checking her private channel for any sign of Merrick. A small note blinked in her inbox. 2 weeks old, unread. From Merrick. She clicked. It opened, her fingers trembling with hope. It said only, "I miss you. Things are busy here. I'll write soon." She stared at those words, grateful for them and frustrated by how little they offered. Busy. Soon. By lunchtime, her hope had worn thin. She sat alone on a bench in the park outside, watching the city's new transporter trains glide past. Families walked by, talking and laughing. Couples held hands. Lena closed her eyes and let the distant hum of the trains fill her ears. Thought of Merrick's laugh, so easy and warm. She remembered how he used to lean back on the grass and recite poems about distant stars, his eyes bright with passion. In the afternoon, she tried calling him. The holoscreen buzzed, showing the planet-side clock. Early morning where Marek lived. Perhaps he was sleeping. She left a voice message. "Good morning, Marek. I hope your sunrise is beautiful. I'd love to hear from you if you can spare a moment." She forced a smile as she left the message, imagining his surprised face when he heard her voice. But when she hung up, her smile faded. Weeks passed without a reply. At home that evening, Lena paced her living room. She held the blue mug in both hands, tracing the crack with her thumb. She felt anger bubble up. Why wasn't he writing? Didn't he care? And guilt followed. Maybe he was lonely too. Maybe he missed her, but did not know how to say it. She sank onto the couch and wrapped her arms around herself. Nova leaped up beside her and nuzzled her hand. Lena stroked Nova's fur, the small comfort reminding her that she was not entirely alone. Deep down, Lena knew she needed to act. Her heart ached to close the distance, to bridge the silence. But fear held her back. What if Marek no longer felt the same? What if he had moved on? What if her efforts only made things worse? The thought of rejection made her chest tighten again. Still, she felt a spark of resolve, humanity's quiet power to hope and to fight for connection. That night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Memories drifted through her mind, the time they built a paper boat by the river and watched it catch fire in the sunset. The time he helped her stand up after she fell off her bike. The time they planned their first voyage to the stars together. She realized these memories were too precious to let go. She would not let fear win. At dawn, Lena rose with a new plan. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a blank hololetter. This time, instead of a quick text, she would send something real. She began to write slowly, choosing each word with care. She told Marek how much she valued their friendship, how proud she was of his new life, and how much she missed sharing her own days with him. She added a promise. No matter how far apart they were, she would always be there for him. At the end, she wrote, "Take all the time you need. I'll be here waiting." As the first rays of sun lit her room, she sent the letter. Then she closed her eyes and let herself believe in hope. She did not know when Marek would reply or what he would say, but she had taken her first step across the distance. And in that moment, Lena felt her courage rise. Humanity, she realized, was more than a voice. It was the unspoken strength to keep caring, to keep hoping, even when the world seemed silent. Lena woke just before sunrise. Her heart still heavy from another night spent waiting. She slipped out of bed and padded across the floor to her holoscreen, hoping for a message from Merrick. The screen glowed with the soft light of early morning. But there was nothing new, only her own sent letter marked as delivered. She felt a hollow ache in her chest. Nova, her gray cat, brushed against her ankles, mewing softly. Lena bent to scratch Nova's ears, drawing comfort from the familiar warmth of her pet. She breathed in slowly, reminding herself that hope lived. In each new day, humanity had faced darker nights than this, and had always risen again. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and left the apartment, determined to fill her day with purpose. At the Habitat Planning office, Lena settled at her desk under the cool hum of the ceiling lights. She opened a fresh data report and tried to focus on the numbers. Each grid line and statistic blurred as her thoughts drifted back to Merrick's wide smile. The way he had pointed out constellations in the night sky on their last walk together. A soft chime on her console announced a meeting invitation from her team. Lena muted her private channel and joined the project chat, reminding herself that this work mattered too. Still, her mind pulsed with longing. When the meeting ended, she sent a quick note to her colleague Aaron. "I need to build something for Marek. Ideas." Aaron replied with a smile emoji and "Tell me more." That small reply sparked a plan in Lena's mind. After lunch, Lena gathered supplies from her locker, a compact voice recorder, a stack of holophoto paper, and a small sketch pad. She found a quiet corner in the break room, where sunlight slanted. Through tall windows, she pressed record and spoke in a calm voice, describing the morning light as it touched the city's spires. She laughed softly as Nova's paw tapped the recorder, adding a playful interruption. Lena shared a silly poem Marique had taught her, reciting each line with care. Then she whispered, "I miss your voice. I miss our dreams." When she finished, she printed a series of photos, Nova chasing her tail. The city's new garden dome in bloom, Lena's favorite coffee shop at sunrise. She sketched a quick line drawing of two paper boats floating side by side on a calm river, an echo of a memory they both cherished. That evening, Lena sat at her holoconsole and assembled the gift. She attached the voice files and photos, then embedded the drawing with a note. "Here are pieces of my day, sent straight from my heart." Her fingers trembled as she hovered over the send button. She paused, took a deep breath, and clicked. The transmission bar glowed green, and a gentle chime confirmed delivery. Lena leaned back and closed her eyes, imagining Merrick's face when he saw her words. She felt a small surge of confidence. She had reached across the silence with something real. No matter how far away he was, she had offered him a piece of her world. Humanity's strength lay not only in grand deeds but in these delicate acts of care. Late that night, Lena dreamt of Marek. She found herself standing on a shore under two moons, Nova curled in her lap. Marek approached with open arms. They spoke without words, sharing memories through soft smiles and gentle touches. She woke with damp eyes. The dream faded, but the feeling of his presence still warm in her mind. She sat on the edge of her bed and traced the blue mug's crack with her thumb, remembering the first time he gave it to her. She felt both sorrow and hope, knowing that dreams could guide real connections when courage followed. The next morning, Lena rushed to her holoscreen. There, blinking in her inbox, was a new message from Marek. Her breath caught as she opened. It first came text, "Lena, I heard your voice. I felt your care." Then a voice clip played, soft and clear. "I'm so sorry for my silence. Work took me farther than I expected, but I never stopped thinking of you." His voice cracked slightly as he said, "Thank you for reminding me of home." Lena pressed her hand to her heart, tears of joy shining in her eyes. Every distance between stars seemed small at that moment. She replied at once, her fingers flying over the holokeyboard. She told him how glad she was to hear from him and how proud she felt of his new life. She invited him to a video call that evening, sharing her schedule so he could choose a time. As she sent the message, Nova leaped onto her lap and purred in triumph. Lena smiled through happy tears. In the quiet glow of her room, she felt humanity's spirit in full bloom, a simple act of reaching out, met by an open hand across the void. Hope had one, and her heart felt a little less lonely. Lena woke with a start before her alarm. Today was the day of her first real video call with Marek. Her heart pounded with both hope and nerves. She dressed in her favorite blue sweater, the one Marek had admired when they last met and smoothed. Her hair, as she moved through her small apartment, Nova patted behind her, tilting her head curiously. Lena smiled and gently scratched Nova between the ears. She set up the holoscreen on her desk, tested the lights, and arranged a small vase. A fresh flower she had picked that morning. Each step felt like a promise. She would not let distance win. When the hour came, Lena took a deep breath and pressed join. The holoscreen flickered, and for a moment she feared the connection had failed. Then Marek's face appeared, framed by the pale glow of his own window. He looked tired but gave her a warm smile that made her chest tighten with relief. "Hello, Lena," he said softly. "I've missed you." His voice sounded distant but gentle, like a breeze through tall grass. They exchanged greetings, both of them laughing at how strange it felt to see each other through a screen. Lena pointed at her sweater. "Remember this?" she asked. Marek's eyes lit up. "I remember how soft it felt," he said, and she could almost feel his words as a hug. They talked about simple things, the new garden dome in her city, the busy market where he worked late shifts, and the birds she had recorded singing that morning. Each small detail built a bridge across the stars. Midway through the call, the connection wavered. Marek's image froze, then dissolved into static. Lena's heart sank, and she pressed her hands to her mouth. She whispered, "Please don't go." The holoscreen blinked back to life, and Marek appeared again, blinking at her. "I'm here," he said, voice catching. Lena smiled with tears in her eyes. She realized that silence had once terrified her, but now it felt like a challenge. To meet with courage, Lena held up the sketch of two paper boats together on a river. "I want to show you something," she said. Marek leaned forward, and she traced the boat's lines with her finger. "You made this?" he asked softly. She nodded. "I remember us building real paper boats and watching them float." Marek's lips curved in a gentle grin. "That was the best day," he said. They laughed together, and in that laughter, Lena felt the distance shrink. Then she guided Marek through her apartment. She showed him Nova, tumbling on the rug, and poured coffee into a real mug, holding it up to the camera. She took her holoscreen outside briefly, tilting it so he could see morning sunlight on the flower petals. Marek watched with wide eyes. "Your world is beautiful," he said. Lena felt a fresh spark of pride. This was her home, and she was sharing it with someone she loved. Marek then showed Lena his own corner, a desk stacked with open books and a small window framing a distant sea of lights. He traced a constellation on his wall map, just as he had once pointed out stars for her. Their shared memory lit up the screen like a beacon. "I want to learn how to draw those stars again," Marek said. Lena smiled and offered to send him tutorials she had found. Together, they made plans. Marek would sketch the stars, and Lena would turn them into a digital map they could explore side by side. As their time drew to a close, neither wanted to say goodbye. They promised to meet again soon, each voice firm. "With hope, distance means nothing," Marek said, "when we keep our hearts open." Lena felt a swell of emotion. She pressed her palm to the holoscreen, as if touching his hand. "We'll always find a way," she answered. After the call ended, Lena sat quietly, Nova curled in her lap. The apartment felt warmer, filled with the echoes of their laughter and shared dreams. She looked at the sketch of the paper boats, and then at the blank wall above her desk. With steady hands, she pinned the drawing in a clear frame. Under it, she wrote, "Bridges of Hope." She stepped back and admired her work. In that moment, Lena knew that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to reach across any void. Guided by hope and the simple act of caring, she turned. on the holoscreen one more time and recorded a short message for Marek. "Thank you for today. I believe in us." She sent it, then watched the little green light blink delivered. Lena stood by the window watching the sun climb higher. Her heart felt light, and her spirits soared. No matter how far apart they were, she realized their connection would outshine any silence. And in that certainty, hope burned brighter than any star. Lena woke with the soft echo of Marek's farewell still ringing in her mind. The glow of her holoscreen was cold without his voice, and she hugged her shawl tighter against the morning chill. After their video call, she had felt a spark of joy, but now the silence settled back in. She longed to close the gap between them, but she did not know how. At her desk, Lena stared at the empty chat window where Marek's last message glowed. "I'll practice more and write soon." A knot formed in her chest. Wondered if he truly meant it, or if life on the distant world had already swallowed his promise. She pressed her fingertips to the screen, willing him to appear beside her. Then an idea struck her. Marek had mentioned that many people on his new planet spoke the local dialect Mavani in everyday life. Lena did not know a word of it. What if she learned his language? It would show him she cared enough to meet him halfway. She tapped open the language app she had downloaded months ago and never used. The first lesson began with simple greetings. "Sahara," the app said, "means hello." Lena repeated it softly. Sahara. Her tongue twisted around the unfamiliar sounds. She tried again. "Sahara," she whispered. Nova jumped onto her lap as if cheering her on. Lena laughed, feeling a flicker of hope. If she could master this new language, perhaps she could speak directly to Marek's heart. Each evening after work, Lena practiced. She set aside 30 minutes to study Mavani. She wrote words on sticky notes and posted them around her apartment. Sahara on the mirror, Fenora thank you on the fridge, Larev friend on her desk. At first the words blurred together. She stumbled over consonants and mixed up vowels. Sometimes she closed her eyes and whispered the lesson, aloud until her tongue caught the rhythm. After a week, she felt ready to try a small surprise. She opened the chat and typed in Mavani. "Sahara Marek, I think of you every day." Then she added a translation in her own shaky handwriting. "Hello, Marek. I miss you." Her heart pounded as she pressed send. She waited. Hours passed. Without a reply, doubt crept in. Maybe he would laugh at her mistake. Maybe he would ignore her entirely. Her chest felt heavy, yet she refused to surrender. She reminded herself of humanity's spirit, to reach out, even when uncertain, and to believe in connection. Late that night, a new message arrived. Marek had written, "Sahara, Lena, speak Mavani." His words glowed on the screen like a sunrise. Then he added a voice clip. His pronunciation was careful, but Lena heard. Her own accent reflected back to her. Her smile flared bright in the darkness. He was trying too. In the days that followed, they exchanged simple phrases in Mavani. Lena taught Marek how to say Nova and coffee, and he taught her words for the alien flowers outside his window. Their messages went beyond hello and miss you, into laughter and shared discovery. Each unfamiliar word became a bridge. One afternoon, Lena found a small paper notebook and wrote down every new phrase he sent her. She decorated the cover with sketches of stars and 2 paper boats, side by side. She titled it, Our Words. She took a photo and sent it to Marek, who replied with a similar notebook filled with Mavani. Phrases and human words he had learned. Lena read his message again and again. She felt the distance shrink with every new word. She realized that reconnecting did not require grand gestures, only the simple courage to share and to learn. As she closed the holoscreen, she whispered the last Mavani phrase he had taught her, Cherry Fenora, meaning thank you, friend. Her heart felt light, filled with the promise that as long as they kept speaking even imperfectly, they would never truly be apart. Rain tapped gently against Lena's window as she sat curled in her blanket, the little blue mug warm in her hands. It had been 2 weeks since she last heard from Marek, their messages in the Mavani. Language had made her feel close to him again, closer than ever before. But now, silence had returned. She stared at her holoscreen, hoping for a new message. There was nothing. She let out a slow breath and looked down at Nova, who lay asleep on the cushion beside her. "Maybe he's just busy," she whispered, stroking Nova's soft fur. But the truth was, her heart ached. She missed Merrick's voice, his laugh, the way he would listen to every small story she shared. Even though they lived worlds apart, she still felt their connection deep in her soul. And yet now, she felt like a stranger standing outside a locked door. Lena didn't want to beg for attention. Doing nothing made her feel helpless. She needed to feel useful to do something, anything that could reach him. So she returned to her old habit, building things. She dug out her childhood project box from under the bed. It was dusty and filled with tools, wires, and scraps from old machines. She pulled out a small voice Chip Marek had given her years ago, back when they built radio transmitters together for fun. It still worked. The idea came quickly. She would build a sound capsule, a small device that could send a voice message into space with a personal signal, one only Marek would recognize. She set up her tools on the desk and began to work. First, she built a base shell from leftover alloy pieces. Then, she added the voice chip and coded a signal beacon that pulsed. In the rhythm of a poem they once wrote together, one that spoke about stars waiting for home. The message would carry her voice and their poem across frequencies. Marek would know from their childhood experiments. As she soldered the wires into place, her hands shook slightly. What if he never heard it? What if the distance was too far, and the silence too wide? She paused, tears filling her eyes. But then she remembered something Marek once told her. Hope doesn't shout. It whispers and we follow. She recorded her voice gently, Marek. It's me. I miss you. I hope you're safe. I hope you're happy. I don't know what's keeping us apart now, but I still believe in us. This capsule carries more than my words, it carries my hope. She inserted the chip, sealed the device, and brought it to the city's small launch dome, where locals sent creative signals into the galaxy for art or memory. The launch crew smiled kindly at her when she asked, "For a personal frequency stream, is it for someone special?" the technician asked. Lena nodded. "Someone I don't want to lose." They helped her connect the capsule to the microlauncher, and Lena watched as it rose into the dark sky, a tiny spark moving toward the stars. As it vanished, she whispered, "Find him." That night back home, she didn't check her messages. She just sat by the window and watched the stars. For the first time in days, she felt calm, not because the sadness was gone, but because she had taken a step. She had acted, even though she didn't know the outcome. That was the human spirit. She thought, not giving up when answers are unclear. Building bridges even when the other side is hidden. The next morning, as light filled her room, her hollow screen blinked. A message. Her heart leapt. It was from Marek. He had received her capsule. "I can't believe it," his message began. "Only you could send a whisper that I could hear across 1,000,000 kilometers. I'm sorry I went quiet. Work has been hard, and I've been unsure of myself. But hearing your voice reminded me who I am, who we are." Lena pressed her hand to her chest, tears welling up. "I miss you too," Marek's voice continued. In a second message, "Your hope reached me, and now I'm sending mine back." Attached was a new voice clip Marek, reading the poem they wrote as children in both English and Mavani. His voice was soft and real and warm. Lena closed her eyes, just letting every word sink in. She whispered, "We're still connected." She wasn't lost anymore. She had spoken through silence, and he had listened. The wind outside Lena's window howled softly, carrying the scent of autumn leaves. She stood on her balcony, a scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, watching people move below, lovers holding hands, families laughing, students rushing to catch the sky tram. It was a normal day for everyone else, but for Lena, it felt quiet. In all the wrong ways. She had heard Marek's voice in a message 2 days ago, the one where he read their childhood poem. It had filled her with warmth, and for a while, she floated on that joy. But now, the silence had returned. Again, Lena knew he cared. She believed it. Space made everything feel uncertain. And even when someone misses you, life on another planet can be loud, fast, and full of distractions. Sometimes hope can fade behind work shifts, long nights, and the fear of not knowing what to say.
Oh.
Lena understood this. But understanding didn't make it easier. She returned inside and sat at her desk, where her notebook titled Our Words lay open. She flipped through pages of Mavani words and doodles of stars, planets, and the paper boats they once made.
Okay.
Fingers stopped at a blank page. She stared at it for a while.
What?
How could she keep their connection alive when it seemed to flicker like a weak signal? She didn't want to send another message just asking, "Are you okay?" or "Why haven't you answered?" It wasn't about guilt. She didn't want to push him. She just wanted to feel close again. She stood up and looked around her room. Then an idea came to her. Something small, simple, and deeply human. A care package. Lena rummaged through her apartment and began collecting things. She found a smooth pebble Marek had once skipped across a lake during a trip to the mountains. She added a picture of Nova, curled into a loaf on her blanket. Then she included her favorite tea blend, wrapped in a small cloth bag with a note. For nights when you need warmth. Next came a memory card, filled with things she knew. Marek loved photos of the garden dome in full bloom, a recording of birds singing at dawn, and a short video of her playing the flute. It was a soft tune she had composed, filled with hope and longing. Her hands trembled as she recorded it, but her heart stayed strong. At the bottom of the box, she placed a folded piece of cloth, a handkerchief she had embroidered with a tiny star map, one that showed the constellation they used to find when they were kids. She stitched a short phrase in Mavani under it, Lanvera, Sima, E Talon. The stars still know the way. She sealed the package gently and went to the post terminal. The woman at the desk scanned the items and smiled. "Sending something important?" she asked. Lena nodded. "To someone far away," she said softly. "But never far from here." She tapped her heart. The clerk smiled and handled the package with care. "I hope it finds him." Lena walked home feeling lighter, though the wind had picked up and the sky was gray. She didn't know how long it would take to reach Marek. Weeks, maybe. But it wasn't about quick replies anymore. It was about planting something real, something that could grow in the quiet. That evening, she sat on her bed, Nova purring beside her, wrote in her notebook, "Today I didn't wait. Today I reached out again, because hope is not just what you feel, it's what you do." Days passed, then a week, then two. Still no reply. And yet Lena didn't feel lost this time, because every time she felt the ache return, she'd open the notebook, press her fingers to the stitched star map she had drawn again in her sketchbook, and whisper, "The stars still know the way." And one night, just as snow began to fall, for the first time that season, her holoscreen lit up. A video message. From Marek. His face appeared, eyes glassy with emotion. Behind him, the package sat opened. The handkerchief hung on his wall. The pebble rested on his desk. Nova's photo was pinned near his bed. "I opened your box today," he said quietly. "I waited because I wanted to be ready. And when I opened it, it felt like I was home again. Every little thing reminded me of us, of who I was before all the noise. Thank you for giving that back to me." He paused and added, "I'm not good at staying in touch. I get lost. But you always bring me back. I want to do better. I want to keep building this bridge with you." Lena didn't cry. She smiled. Because that was enough. The stars still knew the way.
Out.
And so did they. Snowflakes fell quietly outside Lena's window as she sat on her couch, watching them drift through the cold evening light. The world was peaceful, wrapped in winter silence. Nova lay curled beside her, softly snoring, and the blue mug now, filled with warm tea, rested between her palms. It had been almost a month since she sent Marek the care package. His video message still echoed in her mind. "I want to do better," he had said. "Want to keep building this bridge with you." Since then, they had exchanged a few messages, warm and kind. But days would still pass without a word. The distance remained like a slow river between them, sometimes gentle, sometimes wide. Lena tried not to expect too much, but deep down, her heart still ached. She missed the way they used to talk every day. She missed feeling close. That evening, she opened her notebook, Our Words, and flipped to a clean page. She stared at it, unsure what to write. Then she slowly picked up her pen and wrote, "Sometimes I still feel far from you, but I'm learning that distance doesn't mean silence. It just means we're walking different paths for no end. That's okay. I'm still walking toward you." She paused, then added, "Hope means we don't stop walking." Lena sighed and set the notebook aside. Her apartment was quiet except for the hum of the heater. She closed her eyes and leaned back, thinking about what it really meant to reconnect. She had tried messages, letters, drawings, even a voice capsule. All of it had reached Merrick's heart, but what came next? Maybe she realized the final step wasn't about waiting for him to speak more. Maybe it was about giving something that lasted. The next morning, Lena submitted an idea to her city's art project committee, a public mural called Bridges of Light. It would be painted on the wall of the garden dome where sunlight shined all year round. The mural would show stars to paper boats floating side by side. And the words in both languages, "The stars still know the way." A few days later, the committee approved her design. She spent the following week gathering supplies and sketching. On a large digital tablet, planning every color and detail. Friends volunteered to help. Children came by and offered to paint stars. The whole neighborhood watched the mural grow and word spread quickly. On the 5th day of painting, Lena received a new message from Marek. A video. He looked tired but smiled gently. "I saw pictures of your mural in a news story from Earth. It made it all the way out here. Everyone at my station was talking about it." He paused, and when I saw our stars on that wall, I realized something. He leaned closer. "You never stopped walking toward me, even when I didn't know how to walk back." Lena felt her heart squeeze. Marek continued. "So I applied for a transfer back to Earth. Just part-time. I don't know if it will be approved, but I had to try because I miss walking beside you." Tears filled Lena's eyes as she watched his message again and again. Later that week, the mural was finished.
8.
It stretched across the garden dome wall in bright, hopeful colors. Stars, flowers, soft light, and the paper boats drifting through a painted river of sky. People came to take photos. The lines with their fingers. Strangers sat on the benches nearby and talked quietly about the people they missed. And Lena stood in front of it every evening, her scarf wrapped tight, watching the mural glow in the sunset. She thought about Marek, far away, but still connected. She thought about all the messages, all the drawings, all the little things that had kept their bond alive. She realized something important. She was never waiting. She was building. Brick by brick, word by word, she had built a bridge between two hearts across the stars. That was what humanity did best. Not give up when things felt hard. Not let silence win. But quietly, patiently, courageously. Keep reaching out. Days later, a final message arrived. Simple. "I got the transfer. I'll see you in 3 months." Lena smiled, tears falling freely now. She looked at the mural, at the stars she had painted with her own hands, and whispered, "Welcome home, Marek." Hope had carried them both. And now their story could begin again.